ConnectED Techers, we're back. It's been a while. Season 2, episode 9. We are here remote. I'm actually at the gym right now, getting my sweat on.
And I just got back from the gym, Darryl.
This is how I work out. I'm actually, this is called raising the roof. Raising the roof. Who do we have today?
Today, this is a really special day, Darryl. We have a repeat guest for the very first time in the history of our podcast. And it is none other than our very good friend, Josh from...
What language was that?
Oh, it's Darryl, the language of Darryl.
Darryl language, yes.
Feinsilber from Gimkit.
What?
Yeah.
You didn't tell me this.
Sorry. You didn't get the memo. What's up?
No, I just appear whenever I need to appear.
Yeah. Well, we've got a really great interview planned for him. So we're going to cut this little intro short so we can get right to it.
Oh, yeah, I still got 3 reps left of raising the roof. So let's cut it short.
Finishing up his reps on his raising the roof. We're going to take a quick break and we'll be right back with Josh Feinsilber from Gimkit.
Woo!
You can find all things related to the ConnectED Tech podcast by visiting our website, flippingoodtech.com. And while you're there, make sure to click on all the tabs for a closer look at who we are and why we're passionate about everything we do.
And most importantly, be sure to follow us at Flippin Good Tech on all social media platforms. And subscribe to our YouTube channel for quick access to all the latest podcast episodes, ConnectED Tech promos, and Flippin 5 Tech tips.
Hey,
what's going on?
What's going on? Oh, let's see. You got like stickers on yours. Oh, you're at the gym. I love it.
Do you
I
lift,
just
bro?
got back. You look like you just got back from the gym too. I just got back from the gym. Darryl's at the gym. We were thinking, in honor of your gym kit.
That's right. That's right.
Back, we thought, why not do it on a day when Darryl and I were just doing our regular workout routine. So what's going on with Gimkit?
It's like just been, the magic isn't working. For some reason, I keep knocking on this door, putting that tape, and it's not doing its thing. I got to figure out what's going wrong.
Is it really a thing?
No.
Yeah, no. Can you just imagine, what would that be if you were to create a new platform called Gimkit? What would teachers and students be doing?
Well, like the April Fool's video was kind of like good timing because that's when everyone was starting quarantine. It was like, yeah, we kind of need a gym in our home. All right, if it was Gimkit, I'm sure it'd be some sort of like PE, physical activity type of thing. I don't know, maybe. I don't know how it would incorporate tech. It probably wouldn't be a tech thing. It would be some, I don't know, maybe like a kit of like physical like PE games and stuff or something.
I was thinking KBL, like a kinesthetic based learning, or ABL, what is that called? Action-based learning? Yeah. Something like that. But that, you fooled me totally, because I legit thought that was a real thing. We're busy. I almost think that we're a little busier than we were before all of the quarantine in a lot of respects. Basically, just because of what we do, our role with educational technology. So it's been real busy. How have things changed for you, like working from home? Or you were in New York and then you went back to Seattle, right?
I know. Yeah, I was in New York for a week. I moved to New York like the week it all happened. We started working remotely before COVID, the pandemic came around. So we've been working remotely for about a month and a half, and we'd gotten used to it pretty quickly. So that transition wasn't too hard, but pretty much like when this all happened, just a bunch of people were using Gimkit remotely, and there's basically just like a ton of customer support stress. So just answering a bunch of questions people had. That was the big thing. People were using it in different ways, and they were trying new things. And so it was just kind of figuring out. We had a lot of areas where like it felt simple to us. We just released a new feature back in early March, and that feature was like pretty helpful for remote learning, but it had a lot of design flaws, and because it had to do with like student accounts, and that's always complicated. And it's even more complicated when you have to try to figure that out remotely. So it was like a lot of figuring out those pains, trying to iron out those kinks. But yeah, we've been doing okay.
Interesting. So what were the new? So what other new things were you seeing from when teachers were using it in the classroom versus using it from home?
People are using assignments a lot more. So that's
Okay.
like asynchronous Gimkit. There's no game codes. It's just like a link, and it's not as competitive. It's just like work at your own pace.
Gotcha.
And then for assignments are a lot better when you set up a feature called classes. And classes allows you to see like a list of students who's completed them, who's completed the assignment, who hasn't. If a student leaves an assignment mid-game, they can come back later on another device, that kind of stuff. So we released in early March, we released classes with student accounts. And so you just like log into your account and you're in the assignment. But setting up student accounts is like this whole tricky thing.
Right.
You need to like, there's like an invite system to join the class, and the teacher has to accept you, and then they have to send you the assignment. So it's like a couple steps, and a couple steps just like gets magnified, and it's a whole lot more difficult remotely. So it was just like trying to figure out how to make that a bit more simple. It still needs a lot of work, but it's in a bit of a better place. But it's like still like the major frustration right now.
On your side of that, when you're setting up these new features, because from what I can tell, you're adding things all the time to Gimkit. It's not just like one thing and it's staying stagnant like some tech tools we've seen in the past. You're constantly improving and adding new things. So how long does it take you to set something like that up? Because it seems like to me it comes out pretty fast, but I know that you've got to be vigorously working on it behind the scenes.
It depends on the feature. So like classes with student accounts was something we'd been thinking about for a while, and we'd start working on it before remote learning even became a thing. And it was mainly because we have classes without student accounts, and with that, instead of like logging into your account, students pick a name from like a list of names that the teacher sets. And that worked for some things, but some students would like pick the same name twice, and it was hard to verify that this student actually is this student. And there's some like features down the road that we want to add in. Like we don't want teachers to have to send links to assignments every time. We just want it to show up within a student's account. So anyway, like having student accounts integrated kind of just made sense. That was like a longer process because like when I first built the first version of classes, never had any intention of including accounts. So stuff like that is a longer process. But then we made some like shorter, quick changes. Like we allow students to see the leaderboard on their own device. That was like took me like 3 hours. That was a pretty quick change. That's mainly because there was a lot there already. If you like go to ice someone in Gimkit, it actually shows you like a list of, it basically shows you a mini leaderboard, and we just had to bring that over to like its own little screen. So stuff like that was kind of easy. It kind of, it just depends on how challenging the task at hand is.
I saw a tweet before we get into what we're really going to talk about today. I saw a tweet a couple days ago by this lady who says, bring back boss mode in Gimkit. I'm pretty sure that's what she said. So is boss mode coming back?
So we're actually like talking about what to do with modes in particular right now. We think, I don't want to make any promises, but like we're on an idea right now, which we're going to bring some modes into something that will allow you to use them at any time. So we're going to stop making modes so limited. And we're basically going to make the modes limited at launch and then have them around forever after a couple months. So we're kind of comparing it to like a release of a movie in theaters. So like there's the hype, there's the build up. It's out for a little bit and everyone kind of is experiencing it at the same time. They're watching the movie and then it leaves and there's no way to watch the movie for a few months. And then it comes on DVD and you can watch it forever at any time. We're thinking we're going to follow something similar with modes because we there's something special like when we release Thanos mode around the Avengers and when we release Humans versus Zombies around Halloween, like and people were doing it during that time and it was really special. But as we release more modes, there's just more people that have their favorite and it really helps engagement. So yeah, we think we're going to do something like that, which is like initial launch of the mode is limited and then after a few months it's around forever. We're still talking about it. Like this was just a conversation that just came up on Friday, but we're leaning towards that side right now.
It's really cool. I like how you listen to your users. You're always getting feedback from them and asking them what's next kind of a thing. So I have to wonder, because the thing we're talking about today with you is this new thing you've got coming out called Ink. for Gimkit. And I have to wonder how that idea came to you. Were you approached by someone about it, or was it just something that was your brainchild?
It's a couple of factors. So like about a year and a half ago, actually more about a year ago at this point, I was still in high school. Gimkit was like part company, part school project. And Jeff had just been on for like a few months. And we had to kind of figure out, all right, like, what are we going to do with this thing? Like, what is this thing called Gimkit going to look like? And so we talked about like what we wanted to do with it. We spent a few months just like thinking about it. There's a lot of areas we could go. We could continue just working on the game and focus on making it better, maybe make a corporate version, like that kind of stuff. There's just a lot of things we could possibly do. So we just spent a few months just thinking about, what's the future? What are we trying to do here? And we kind of solidified that about a year ago, where we made our mission and our vision statement. And so we made our mission to create memorable learning experiences, not just like tech that helps with learning, but really just makes learning memorable for students. And then how we were gonna do that was by making a suite of tools that can help make those memorable learning experiences. So like the game would just be the beginning, and there's a whole lot of areas of school which are not memorable at all for students. And that's what we'd work on, is trying to figure out what we can do to help make all those other places memorable for students. So like, great. And then we just kind of let it set. We're a small team. We were focusing on the game, and we just wanted to wait till the time felt right to start working on the next thing. And over the past year, Gimkit has matured a lot. We've added a good amount of stuff. The rate of change isn't as high as it was before, since it's a more mature product. And so there's like a point where like I could spend 6 months working on Gimkit the game, or I can maybe spend 6 months working on maybe something else, and it could be a good bet. So I built like the first version of Gimkit in like 4 to 5 months. So it's like, okay, if we could do a similar thing with whatever this is, but we kind of just like waited for the time to feel right. So we've actually like bounced around a few ideas, and we started talking about them, and none of them have quite stuck around. They were either like too ambitious for our size, like too technically complicated, or they just didn't feel right. And so, but we've kind of just been like talking about these ideas, and if one sticks, then we might investigate it a bit more. And then Ink is kind of the one that stuck. And some inspiration for it was in the year since I've graduated. Well, it's been almost a year. I've been writing a lot more, and I've been like, my writing has been on our blog, and I've just really enjoyed that writing. I just loved writing blog posts. I look forward to it. I love sharing it. And I didn't really expect it. I was not expecting to like writing. It's like a complete opposite from what I was used to in school. So I'm like, okay, so why do I like writing so much now? Like nothing, I just graduated. I'm not learning writing. I'm just writing, but I'm enjoying it now. And that got me thinking about kind of the writing I used to do in school and how different it is versus the writing I'm doing today. And I think about how I felt about writing before, how I feel about writing now. And I thought, okay, well, this is actually like pretty incredible. I'm liking writing now. So how can we bring my experience into school? And that's how kind of the idea for Ink started.
That was a pretty good story you told us about writing. For me, writing was, I wish whatever you're creating now came out whenever I was in school, or even now. Writing, I'm horrible at it. But Elizabeth, she can talk more about writing. She was an English teacher.
Yeah, English teacher. In fact, when I was going back and reading your blog post, there were a couple of quotes on there by you that stuck out to me. From the teacher perspective, this really rang true for me. And I taught 8th grade, 10th grade, and 11th grade English. So lots of really important years for student writing. 8th grade, really 11th grade and 10th grade. A lot of writing going on there, and a lot of high stakes writing, because you talked about the formulaic approach to writing and those standardized tests that public schools are very familiar with are really geared to that formulaic style of writing. So one of the quotes you mentioned on here was, "My writing was only meaningful in the context of the assignment. It was just there for my teacher to read and grade. It wasn't writing you kept to look back on. It was disposable." And I love that perspective from a student. So could you talk a little bit about like maybe some specific experience you had, or kind of elaborate on that more?
Sure. Yeah. When I just like think about my writing in school, I have some like really great memories from when I was in elementary school, and I like created like books of sorts. And those are the pieces of writing that I remember, that I keep on, that I keep a hold of. But like starting with middle school, just all that writing, it's not stuff I look back on. It's not stuff that I have fond memories of. It's not even work I'm proud of. It's like, oh yeah, okay, I wrote that, I completed it, it's done. And writing should really be something super impactful for the author. It's like a creation. This person made this thing that was not there, and it should be really special to them, but it's not, because it's just strips the student's humanity away from it. I just thought that was sad. So like, I think that the intention here is to try to make that writing more valuable for the student. What's writing that would be nice to look back on, that you do want to keep on to, that you'd be proud of? I just think we need more of that. If we're asking students to create stuff, let's make sure that it's stuff that is valuable to them, not just for the grade, but after that.
When you were talking earlier too, just to kind of go back to what you said about why you like writing now, as you've been writing your blog, things for the website, you're like, I really like this. And you're like, why do I like it now? And I couldn't help but think that the reason you like it now is the same reason why Gimkit started, because you have purpose. There was some purpose, there was some meaning, there was something attached to it that you could kind of grab a hold of and say was yours. And it wasn't something someone else put onto you.
I think that's one of the reasons. I mean, it obviously helps a lot that like I care about Gimkit, so it's really fun to write about. But I also think it's because no one's telling me exactly how I should write. I just get to write, and then I get to publish it, and I get to get feedback and see if it's effective or not, and then learn from there. It's not like if I make a mistake in my post, it ruins the rest of my career. Like I just get to write, and I get to share my voice. And that's not really possible with the way that a lot of students do writing, just because everything is graded. It's like, if I write this, it's got to be good in the eyes of the teacher. So I'm going to write the way that my teacher wants me to write. So I get the good grade and I can move on. But since I've graduated, I haven't had to worry about that. I mean, I have to think about my audience, who am I writing this for? And I have to think, okay, is this going to be effective? But I actually get to put me into it. I think that's the biggest piece, is I'm actually writing. It's not like me pretending to be someone else writing.
Yeah, because you mentioned writing just to comply with the teacher's directions, just to get that grade. So there wasn't that engagement to what you're writing and that purpose. So does writing come easy to you? Because I know some students, like for me, I'm gonna talk about myself. Writing words don't come easy to me. Like even when I write an email, I have to like revise it and read it over and over and over again. I'm the type of person usually, like, let me just send them a video. Let me just express myself through video and explain what I'm trying to explain. But for some, like, I don't know, what makes writing so, does it come easy to you opposed to like being on video?
Good question. It depends. I think just with practice, it's becoming easier for me. And so I mentioned, we work remotely, and we basically work entirely through writing for the most part. We kind of have like a call just for like to just talk like socially, but in the way that we make decisions, it's all within writing. So we almost never have any meetings where we make decisions. Those all happen over writing. Even when I pitched the original idea for Inc., we discussed what to do with that over writing. So I've been learning more about how to write to communicate, and just I think it's like a skill where more practice makes you better at it. So I wouldn't say it comes easy to me. I was not a good writer in school. I didn't really get it. But I mean, what even is a good writer in school? Like, I don't know. Writing is so subjective. So generally speaking, no, like words don't just come to me, but I try to write normally. My style now is like writing the way that I would talk. And I think if you read my letter, you can kind of feel that way. It seems like something I can maybe like give a speech on. That's kind of like my style. But in terms of like an academic paper, no, like doesn't come naturally to me. But I also go back and forth with video. So like I usually post updates on like my progress with ink, and sometimes I'll write it, and sometimes like I'm showing something, so actually I'll open Loom and record a little video and send it over. So it depends, but I'd say generally no. Writing doesn't come naturally to me.
The video piece, because we're talking about this generation who they're all over TikTok, they're all over Snapchat, YouTube. Video is a huge part of what they do, and that's a way to communicate, right? So can you give some reasons, one or two of your own, based on your experience doing what you do now post high school, and even when you were in high school, about why it's important for them to practice the skill, even if it's not a 5-page or 5-paragraph essay, just in general? Why is it important for kids today to know how to write, to communicate?
Well, I think like comparing writing and video, they have kind of two, like in terms of like there's obviously like the entertainment piece, but in terms of like spreading ideas, they kind of serve two different purposes. They have pros and cons. Video can be really good to make a social connection, to kind of see the person behind the idea. Writing is a really good place to slow down. If you're recording a video, if you mess up, you gotta do jump cuts, or you gotta like re-record the entire thing. Writing you can play around with. You can sit on it. You can make changes after the fact. So they have pros and cons. I think writing is a really important skill though, because it really is respectful of the other person's time a lot more. Video is like, you have to sit and watch my entire thing. You can maybe speed it up, but you've just got to watch my entire thing in order to get the idea. Writing, you can skim. You can look for important paragraphs. You can see the structure of it. You can decide what you might want to read. You can use like bold and italics to figure out what's important. So I think writing is really great for that. Just to be a little bit more respectful. It's a more of a piece that you sit and think on. Like, it's not the same to send a video to someone to make a decision or propose an idea versus writing something. I think writing has a bit more of like thinking there, and deep thought, and perhaps conversation.
Yeah, that's because you have to be very thoughtful about writing. Because when people read what you're writing, they can imply tone and and they make up their own entire, thought behind what you're trying to write. Whereas, when you're watching a video, you can see their hand gestures, their facial expressions. So when you're writing, you got to be more thoughtful and cognizant about what message am I going to try to send to my reader.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, and you do have to be cognizant of that when you're doing video too, but it's especially more important in writing. Like even the main letter that I wrote, some people are seeing like a different tone than I had in my mind with that piece. I mean, it's a strongly opinionated piece. And some people are perceiving that differently, and it's the same thing. So it's like, yeah, it's definitely something you have to be more careful with writing is, okay, this person can't actually hear how I'm saying these words in my head. So what is that, what does this piece of writing need to look like then in order for it to be effective?
When I read it, I thought you were screaming at me. I'm just messing.
And there were no emojis.
There were no emojis.
No emojis.
That's how we know,
LOL.
right? Yeah. So tell us a little bit about what ink would look like. And nobody's seen it, right? It's
nobody's seen it
right now. Real hush hush. Give us some inside information. I want to know. I can't wait to see it. And I'm hoping you'll let me have like the VIP access to it based on my email I sent to you that was very compelling about my college English class writing experience.
Yeah.
And how much can we publicize? No, just tell us whatever we.
Yeah. I'll just say, so like in a few months, we'll be sharing more about what it looks like, how it works. And kind of right now we're focusing on what problems it's solving. Because the thing that we're like working against is the way that writing is done in school traditionally. So I think we kind of have to unpack what's wrong with writing in school right now. We have to kind of think about, all right, where isn't this working? And kind of make sure we're on the same page in terms of those issues. So like the first thing is ink is not a language arts tool. It's a tool for all classes. that was one of my big problems with writing in school, is like the only time we focus on writing is pretty much in language arts class, when in reality, if you're doing work in math, you probably have to be an effective communicator in the world of math. If you're doing science, you probably have to be an effective communicator in the world of science. And then we just didn't really focus on that. We just focused on the content in math, on the content in science, and writing was just like a way to get to the content. So it's being designed as a tool for all those classes, not a language arts specific tool, which I think is an important thing to note. I won't go into too much about like how it works specifically, but the main thing here is to try to protect the student as much as we can. So the things I have a really solid understanding about what I didn't like about writing in school. And we're taking the product and saying, okay, how can we design this to protect, to make sure these things don't happen? So I'll kind of list just a few of those. The first thing is like, for the most part, all writing in school looks a certain way. It's like Times New Roman, like double spaced. When writing can be so many other, like writing can look so different than that. So we want to make sure writing can look different than like a white page and black text and just lines and lines of text. So we want to make sure it can look different than that. So that's one of the things. Writing in ink will look different. Two, when I wrote something, it was just for the teacher. Very few things I actually shared with others because I was proud of it. So it's like, what's the point? What's the point of writing something for just one person to read and then it's gone? So writing in ink will be read by other students. And there's a way to do that to make them comfortable sharing their writing while remaining anonymous. So that would be part of ink. And then the third part of ink will just basically like relaxing. Like we don't need a grade. We don't need to grade every single piece of writing. There's going to be a way to assess writing in ink, but there's going to be no way to grade writing in ink. And we can relax on like word minimums. There's going to be no way to do word minimums in ink, just word maximums. That's what most real world writing challenges are about, like fitting a tweet under this many characters. An email can't be too long, otherwise people are going to go away. It's not an email has to be this long, or anything like that. So there's going to be maximums, not minimums. And no grading, just giving feedback and assessing. So just like relaxing, like let's take a step back, let's relax, and let's just make writing a bit more of a habit. So that's a little bit of information about what ink's about, a little more than what's in the letter.
Ooh, I'm intrigued. So it's like writing for learning or as learning, not assessing.
Yeah, exactly. It's going to replace some of the ways that you do things in your classroom today. So it's not like all the things you do in your class today plus ink, there's just no time for that. So it's going to replace the way you do some things in your class today. It's going to make writing a bit more of a habit. So it's something I'm imagining being used often, because I just think we just need to write a lot, learn from it, keep going. And if there's that low stakes environment for students, that's totally possible. If not everything is graded, they can just focus on getting better at writing and communicating better rather than every single piece of writing feeling so important.
So you would suggest a teacher not give out an ink assignment to a student to grade. It'll be just like something for the kid to brush up his writing ability, and any type of writing, like poetry, if you're writing a technical essay.
Yeah, well, you physically won't be able to grade writing in ink, and also essays. You physically won't be able to write essays in ink. So it's like a different kind of writing. We want this to be more about habit forming writing, just writing you do a lot, low stakes. So those things. So yeah, I think writing as a habit is the best thing. Just let's get practice with it a lot. Just keep getting better at it. Get feedback in a safe place for students. And I think people will find if you just try it out, if you give students that space, I think you'll see their writing skills improve dramatically. And I think you'll see them become a lot more confident in their writing and much better writers too.
It's almost kind of like creating their own writers' PLN, we call Professional Learning Network. But it's almost like that. It's a safe space for people to go and to share their ideas, to get other ideas or other inspiration from other people. So it almost seems kind of like that type of environment for students to practice and form those habits, but then also to share them with other people to get a reaction or not to get a reaction, but just to have that experience. I love the idea. And earlier you said something about, you mentioned a couple of things, like with the maximum word limit. You referenced how Twitter has a maximum word limit. With an email, you don't want to make an exhaustive email. So it sounds like you've done some homework in that regard to how this is set up. So what other research have you done that people might want to know about writing to kind of help you develop some of these components of ink?
We did an interview. We did like an online interview. We did a Google form, and we asked about 200 teachers a bunch of questions about writing. So we kind of wanted to learn more about how they're doing it currently, how their students are feeling about it, what they feel is working, what they feel is not working. And that helped guide one of the major things with ink, which is a way of writing that no one has done before. So when I talked about like writing pretty much just looks like black text on a white piece of paper, you'll be able to do that in ink, but there's going to be another way to write as well. The black text on white paper is great for a lot of stuff. I mean, read my letter, it's black text on white paper. But it also comes with a lot of baggage. So people know what like a good piece of writing looks like in the context of black text on white paper. They know like there's paragraphs, okay, those exist. And they know what like a good sounding school paragraph looks like. And we want to break out of that. So there's going to be a different way to write, which is a format that no one has written in before. And that's supposed to be kind of like a clean start. No one knows what good writing looks like within this format. And that's exactly the point. So that it's a place for students to like try stuff out. It's supposed to make trying stuff out a little more approachable. Because if we make this whole writing tool and the only thing that's there is some of these ideas, but when you go ahead and you go write, it looks like a Word document. Well, there's all that baggage already. Students have written Word documents. They know what a school Word document feels like. We have to work to break out of that. So yeah, from the feedback we got from teachers, we came up with this idea for this new kind of format, which is going to be kind of highlighted in ink.
So you have invented your new MLA APA format?
No, not a citation format. We don't need more of those.
You know, I love the name ink because I think about, you know, how if you write with a pencil, you can erase your ideas. But if you write in ink, it's almost permanent, but it's okay to make a mistake. Just keep going. Just keep writing until you have a cohesive idea. So I like the name. I think it works.
And I feel like ink feels more substantial. Like pencil, I don't know, pencil feels like
graphite.
School writing. Pencil feels like school writing, and ink feels like published writing. And I tweeted this yesterday, but yeah, you're not going to submit writing in ink. You publish it since other people read it, and I think that's important. And so that's the challenge, right? Like you're publishing writing, you're sharing with others, but it's also supposed to be low stakes. And I think ink will do the job of balancing the two. Typically, when you publish something, it's like it needs to be this perfect thing because you're sharing it with others. And hopefully, ink will do both. You can share writing with others, but it definitely does not have to be perfect, and we don't even want it to be. We just want to focus on getting better at communicating, getting better at writing.
I'm assuming there will be a variety of colors that people can choose to write in ink, just based on what you're talking about, drawing that comparison between black ink on white paper. And if I had to suggest a color that you would omit from that color palette, I would say red, but I'm sure red has a purpose in writing as well. And the reason I say that is because of that story I shared with you about my college English class experience when I wrote that paper. And I was an English major. I was in the last year, I think, of getting my bachelor's in English. And I took an advanced English class. And the very first paper I wrote in that class, I got it back and I thought it was pretty good. And I knew how to write. You know what I mean? I knew how to school write. And I had that big red letter D up at the top of it. And I had never made a D on any paper in my life. I know. The point, though, wasn't as much the grade for me as the way that it was done, the way that it was presented. It was almost like you were this close to making an F on this paper. Here's this big red D. And that was just like the signal that of the things that were wrong, that were bad with your paper versus things that might be right. So when I became a teacher, I started using purple and green, and I made sure I had positive comments and feedback to give to my kids in those colors. And then when I did have to give them some feedback that was constructive, you know, the way that you word it, I think, is everything. So.
Yeah. And I mean, there's been like studies, right? Like red brings out anger, that kind of stuff. And I think one thing too is, this is kind of like a nice thing about tech that you can't do with paper, which is that feedback. It's like, well, you put that D on top of my work. Like you put your stuff on top of my work. One of the nice things about technology is we can separate the two. So it's like, it's still your work. And then this feedback is in this different place. I'm not overwriting your work with my feedback. It's in a different place. Go back to your thing about colors. So yeah, I mean, I'm not going to go exactly into what this other format looks like, but colors is kind of part of it. It's more of like a philosophical. We kind of thought like, okay, what's missing when we want to write today and we don't feel like we can express something in writing? Okay, what's a format that would work? This other format actually would be like a good alternative to video. So if you think about places where like black text on white paper does not work, but explaining something over video would work better. This other format's like in the middle. It's something you could replace instead of recording a video. And it's something that doesn't quite work well when you put black text on white paper. So there's a lot of cases for it. Yeah, we'll talk more about it soon in a few months, but that's kind of where the other format fits in.
My mind was blown. My head just disappeared from the screen. Did you see that?
Yeah, I did see that as you went back.
It's such a tease though. Like I want to know what it is because I see like. So are you just marking this just for students to use? I feel like anybody could use this, right?
I guess so. We'll see. I mean, other people could use it, but we're designing it for teachers and students. It's similar to Gimkit, which the teacher initiates the activity, and then students do stuff with it. So it's same in that way. But this will have a lot of independent uses. So there's going to be a lot of places for students to write things that aren't initiated by the teacher.
Is it for K-12, Josh? Is that kind of how you're writing it?
Yeah, it is for K-12. I have no experience with higher ed. I have no idea if it would work, but yeah, it's mainly meant for K-12 and specifically for middle school and up, because I think writing in elementary school is not that bad. I think we keep a lot of what's nice about writing in elementary school, but then yeah, with middle school, it kind of just takes a turn for the worse in the world of students actually enjoying writing. So it is for K-12, but like specifically for middle and high schools.
And how long do we have to wait, Josh?
Yeah, it's actually the funny thing is like it's a very simple product.
Well, simple is always good. I mean,
yeah,
easier for teachers to use, students to use. Those are always, in my opinion, those are the best ones. It's easy to introduce it.
It's simple and flexible. So we kind of solidified the idea, like how is this thing going to work? And we know that. And once you know that, it's a bit easier to figure out how long this thing is going to take. And yeah, we'll have a version ready for the start of the school year. The thing we're trying to figure out is that for the 2020-2021 school year. The thing we're trying to figure out is how we'll release it. We're going to give people early access, but how does that work? So will we do early access in like late August, early September? And then like maybe release it a month after that. So we don't know when it will come out to everyone, but it'll be in the beginning of the new school year.
And is this a free piece of Gimkit?
This will be included with your pro subscription. So yeah, so you have the pro subscription. It's going to include the game today, and it's also going to include ink. So it's not going to be a separate thing. It's going to be part of Gimkit under one subscription.
Ooh, a 2 for
Awesome.
1.
2 for 1, exactly.
Well, I'm excited about it. I really am. I can't wait to see not just what it can do, but how it changes and how it impacts the way not just students perceive writing, but also the way that teachers perceive instructing on writing concepts.
Me too. And reading the emails that we've gotten, like yours, Elizabeth, it seems like teachers are really looking forward to not just seeing their students enjoy writing, but also enjoying teaching writing. We're just hearing that a lot. And I don't know, it may not work for everyone, but I think it's going to be really impactful for a lot of students. So I'm excited to kind of share it, put it out there, and kind of see what students can do with this new power of theirs to write the way that they would like to, and see what happens with it. So I'm very excited.
We are too.
You can tell.
I'm trying to figure out.
He's still trying to figure out what
it's like you're telling, like, there's nothing out there that I know. Like, so it's not a gamified thing. It's just
no, it's not.
You get kids intrinsically motivated to write. Like, oh my gosh, if you can make that happen, Josh, you deserve a Nobel Prize.
No, I actually think, like, I mean, go ask some younger kids if they like writing. Most of them do, and then you ask them what they like most about writing, and it's figuring out, okay, how can we bring those things over to those higher grade levels? You know, there's some stuff we have to do now. We have to write about content. We have to write about more specific things. Okay, we can take those constraints, but we can also bring some of those things that those younger kids liked about writing when they were younger. And a lot of those are the same things that people like. A lot of those are the same reasons why I like writing now. Because those younger kids got to show, you know, they were able to choose their own style. They would make a piece of writing, they would share it with someone else. And then that goes away. That's why I like writing now. So if we can bring those things over, I totally think we can get a lot of students to like writing, or at least like writing more.
We just appreciate you so much being willing to talk to us about this. And I'm assuming we better be the first podcast interview you've done on ink.
You are the first. Yeah, we'll see. I got to figure out how to talk about this stuff. So this is a good trial, but you all led the conversation really well. So you made it easy for me. I'll probably go back and watch myself and be like, dang, Josh, you got to slow down, or that made no sense, or I couldn't understand what you're saying. So this is a good trial for me.
No, it makes sense. It even makes sense to the point where I can't even imagine what this product is going to be like. So you did a great job, man.
Okay, good. That's the intention. Just to get your mind thinking. Yeah, get your mind thinking. And then once we announce it, you'll be like, oh, okay, that makes sense. It's not this crazy thing. It actually is pretty simple.
Yeah, and you kept it obscure enough so that you didn't reveal too much, but you were dangling that carrot in front of us because we really want to find out now. We're just like, yeah, we want to know more. It sounds amazing. And what an innovative idea. And I have to commend you. I've lived a long time now, and people that are like in my age group, I don't know, and even younger, I don't see this kind of innovative thinking sometimes, in this just really being intuitive about needs, like being purposeful about what are the needs and how do we make steps to help this. And I think that's a huge skill that we need to kind of pass on to students. Problem solving is huge. If you don't like something, don't complain about it for days. Figure out a way to fix it.
Yeah, totally. And I think we're just kind of, like, us being three people, we're just in a good position to try to solve a problem like this, because ink does not need to be used by everyone. It just needs to work well for some. That's basically it. And I think if we were like a larger team and we're trying to make something, we're not trying to make ink work for every single classroom. And I think that's really important. Nothing will. Like, I love project-based learning. I don't think it works for every classroom. I think it's kind of, I don't think we should try to get project-based learning to become the standard in every classroom, even though it works so well for me. And I think we're three people, we're a small team. We don't need to make something for every single person, which allows us to focus more on like some really good specific solutions. So I feel like if we were a large company or a different company, we'd be like, oh, well, there's no way we can't not allow essays in a writing tool. Like, no, people aren't going to use it, but we have the ability to say that. There's no way we can't not have word minimums. No one's going to use it, but we have the opportunity to actually focus on those problems and be like, well, yeah, some people may not use it, but at least we're making something that actually does solve a problem. So I think we're pretty lucky in the way that we're able to do that.
Yeah, just your design thinking process. Like I'm trying to figure things out too with design thinking, But you're actually making it happen, man.
Oh yeah, my school did a really great job of teaching me the design thinking process. And yeah, it's the same process I'm going through here with ink. It's kind of funny. Like when I started working on Gimkit, I had been out of traditional school for just about a year. And now I'm working on ink just about a year after I'm out of school. So it's kind of like the same thing, because I was removed from traditional school, which was what Gimkit really is for today. And then now I'm like removed from school altogether, which is what ink is for. So it's kind of interesting in that sense. And I'm going through the same, right? Like I'm going through the same process of getting the empathize phase, asking teachers kind of what their feelings are about writing in school, figuring out those problems and what we can do about it. And then the ideation phase, that was coming up with the idea for ink. And now I'm in the prototyping phase of actually figuring out what this thing looks like and building it.
Thank you, Josh, for joining us again today and giving us an inside glimpse at what ink's going to be all about. We cannot wait to see it for ourselves, and we'll be in touch. We're going to hold you to all the promises you made us today.
Okay, y'all. Well, thanks for having me on. This was a lot of fun.
Did you just say y'all?
He just said y'all.
I said y'all.
You are an honorary Texan.
Yeehaw.
Do I sound Texan?
Your cowboy hat and spurs will be coming to you in the mail shortly.
You got it.